It's the tragic death of a young performer, and now family, friends, and fans around the world are suffering the loss.
In one social media post, Carter's mother writes, quote, "Why are the towels perfectly..."
Regret ever getting involved in...
I didn't have a choice. It got bad when I was about 15 years old.
There's a bunch of videos that have recently resurfaced because of all these speculations and allegations about Diddy possibly being involved with Aaron Carter's passing.
They had cops come and check for a rope in my garage, saying I wanted to...
One quiet Christmas behind bars marked the breaking point of a music mogul once thought untouchable. Forgotten, isolated, and haunted by the very empire he built. In this in-depth exposé, we unravel the dramatic collapse of Shah Diddy Combs, a figure once cloaked in celebrity, influence, and immense wealth, now trapped in a legal firestorm that threatens to shake Hollywood to its core. Leaked documents, unreleased audio files, a courtroom saga spiraling out of control. The truth is finally clawing its way to the surface, and it's far more disturbing than anyone dared to believe. At the heart of this chaos is a chilling link to the unexplained and controversial death of pop star Aaron Carter, a revelation that has fueled a tidal wave of speculation online. What really happened at the infamous freak-off parties? Who's covering for who? And what truths are still hidden beneath layers of legal protection and silence? With once buried, evidence inching closer to exposure, one looming question remains. Is justice finally breaking through? Or is this just the next act in a long-running charade built on power, secrecy, and illusion?
Diddy ringing in the new year with a jailhouse meltdown, at least according to some new reports. All this comes as the disgraced singer spends his first holiday season behind bars, and a judge rules one of his accusers can remain anonymous. By now you're well aware that 55-year-old Sean Combs, also known as P. Diddy, is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. He's facing federal charges of racketeering conspiracy. Facts came down in September when a grand jury indicted Diddy, half a year after those federal raids were first performed on his homes. Since he was booked, Diddy has made several bids for bail, hoping to get back to one of those homes or an apartment on New York's Upper East Side.
You might have thought this period before the trial was going to be the calm before the storm. I did. Wrong. On April 3rd, the government released another supersede opening statements. Why file it now? Does it leave the defense enough time to prepare?
Those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women. How many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if they were. Right.
Sure.
Appear to be.
Let me rephrase it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appeared to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence?
All of them.
And I remember him just sitting down with me, being like, this is kind of like what you got to do, Aaron.
Harley Pasternak followed me to the fucking hotel. They killed Aaron Carter, and now they acting like they won't clear the Backstreet Boys sample. You get what I'm saying? Harley Pasternak, Pusha, your trainer. Harley Pasternak, Jay-Z.
Aaron Carter was despicable, though, because he begged for help to help get him a private security team to keep him alive. He said on numerous occasions, if anything happens to me, I promise you, I am not.
It all began at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, where 55-year-old Diddy found himself spending the holidays behind bars. What should have been a day of celebration turned into one of desperation. According to sources, on Christmas Day, Diddy begged for medical attention, fearing he was on the verge of an emotional collapse as the loneliness and isolation overwhelmed him. But his requests were reportedly ignored by prison staff, leaving him to face the holiday alone. He had counted on his high-powered legal team to secure his release, making the harsh reality of being denied bail all the more shocking and unexpected.
Combs will officially not be home for the holidays after a judge just denied him bail now
for the third time. Diddy's been behind bars since September and will likely now remain there until his trial date, which is in May of 2025. Combs' lawyers tried just about everything at this point to get him released, offering a $50 million bond, a 24-hour security team, a home monitoring system at his Upper East Side Manhattan apartment. They tried it all, but the judge still felt that, quote, no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community. So why is Diddy deemed...
Report from the Daily Mail. That's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, he eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it.
I believe the reports, and obviously Diddy is someone who's rich and famous and has lived a life of luxury for many years, and now he's in federal prison during the holidays. So this isn't someone who's a hardened criminal who has spent a lot of time in custody. So the fact that he's spending Christmas and New Year's and future holidays in prison is probably finally getting to him. So I'm not surprised that he cracked for some reason, that he would be out on bond. And obviously that hasn't happened. There were 3 different bail applications that were denied by 3 different judges, and ultimately they withdrew their appeal. So now that it's hitting him that Diddy's going to be in custody at least until May 2025, I think he's just having a tough time coming to terms with it. Because like you said, here's someone that had multiple private jets, homes in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, and all of a sudden his only home is his prison cell, and he's not getting the Christmas dinner with his family that he had. And we all saw the video of him.
Gone was his trademark bravado. Sources say Diddy turned inward, relying on meditation techniques he learned during his time behind bars, using them as a lifeline to stay grounded in a harsh and unrelenting environment. While a spokesperson claims he's more resilient than ever, the contrast is striking. A once dominant figure who ruled the spotlight, now portrayed as a solitary man battling vulnerability in a concrete cell. It's an image that's captivated the public and shattered the illusion of invincibility.
This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that, and that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least according to one source.
And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called Hell on Earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control.
I feel like Diddy's appearance was probably the biggest story that happened inside that hearing. There was kind of an astonishing whoa when he walked inside that courtroom because he appeared noticeably grayer. I would even kind of equate it a little bit to Santa Claus, but he just appeared grayer. His hair was a lot whiter. Now remember, the last time I was inside one of Diddy's hearings, that was back in December. We're in March, so that's just a 3-month time span of just that intense grayness. So either him being at MDC Brooklyn for this amount of time is weighing on him, this federal case is weighing on him, maybe even his fall from grace entirely is probably weighing on him, but he just looked visibly different. I will say, though, last time he appeared thinner. This time it seems like he did kind of pack on a little bit of pounds, and I don't say that.
Then came a stunning twist in the courtroom, something right out of a suspense thriller. According to witnesses, Diddy's attorney was handed a document containing a transcript from leaked recordings that could completely shift the direction of the case. These tapes, reportedly seized during a raid on Diddy's home, are said to expose chaotic, drug-fueled gatherings where he not only orchestrated the infamous freak-off parties, but allegedly pressured guests into participating on camera. The revelations have the potential to completely unravel his defense and rewrite the entire story.
Hours of video and audio recordings of Diddy's illegal behavior. We now know this is what the feds were searching for on March 25th, when they executed search warrants at Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. At the time, we only speculated that investigators collected electronic evidence, but now we know for sure. According to the indictment against Diddy, investigators seized more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant from his home. The court doc states these items were used in something referred to as...
Pretty quick, didn't we, in that interview a few months ago, that she was talking about something that might have been taped, or a lot of things that might have been taped and on video in his possession.
Absolutely. You know, Tracy told us that her suspicion was that federal agents were specifically looking for video evidence, for digital evidence, whether that was flash drives, hard drives, you know, home security systems, those kinds of things. And we now know, after Combs's arrest and the indictment, that she was correct, that what they've discovered is video evidence.
And she's pretty strong on that point, isn't she? What'd she say, about 80 to 90% of what's being said could be on video, and it's a pretty scary.
Yeah, that's crazy. But the feds, they also revealed that they got photos and videos of Diddy Freakos.
When they did that raid, you understand, what they did was, prior to the raid, and that civil lawsuit told, Cassie's civil lawsuit, was LeRod had already did it. LeRod hadn't did his yet, did he? Did LeRod do his lawsuit before the raid or after the raid?
Oh, before.
Yeah, so what they did was they reviewed both of those civil lawsuits and found that there was some criminal activity.
Eyewitnesses described a dramatic shift in the courtroom. The moment Diddy's attorney received the document, his expression reportedly morphed from stunned disbelief to barely restrained fury. This wasn't just another tabloid headline. It was explosive evidence that could directly link Diddy to serious charges, including racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and the interstate transport of individuals for prostitution. Once brushed off as wild speculation, the tapes now appear to be central to a case that has both legal experts and the public riveted, all asking the same question. What other dark truths are still locked away behind closed doors?
He's facing charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. And when you say breaking news, I just got this indictment, this 14-page indictment in my hand right now. Now, I want to read for you just a quick top line that kind of gives you an idea of exactly what the U.S. attorney is looking to prosecute here. They say, quote, the defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and to conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in all of these crimes.
Right. And they claiming that Diddy, you know, he was...
If he was blackmailing people, especially people that work for him, see, this is what it's going to get him at. See, people think that, those people work for him, or those people, if they was artists and they work for him, or they were engineers, or they anybody that worked for them and stuff like that, your boss cannot blackmail you to do nothing. If you do a sexual act or you doing anything, your boss, if he have you doing those things like that, then he could be liable for suit. That's why. That's why he made that statement. To set it up. To set up the atmosphere that, this guy's going to lie on us. This guy ain't going to tell the truth on us. But what we know is that wherever Diddy went, his tape recorders went. His camera equipment was working. He was videotaping everything. So they might have that videotape already. I heard that that's not only the tape that's being shot. There's some other tapes out there, other people too with him. And him doing some things with some other people. So it's quite a few tapes that might be out there, what they're hearing. And I don't want to see the tapes, but I want to know if they're really true. Because if they got some tapes out there and it's with some underage, whether it's celebrities or not, it's going to be crazy, bro. It's going to be real crazy.
Adding another layer of complexity to this already intricate case, Diddy's legal team recently submitted a questionnaire packed with over 70 probing questions for potential jurors. These questions sought jurors' opinions on explicit sexual content, images of physical violence, and the moral considerations surrounding multiple sexual partners. This isn't just routine legal protocol. It's a strategic move designed to condition jurors for the shocking content they will soon encounter, particularly the infamous freak-off.
Combs' defense team submitted a lengthy questionnaire for potential jurors ahead of the rapper's trial next month. In a letter sent to the judge, Combs' attorneys floated a questionnaire that asked detailed questions about adult situations and footage of real-life physical assault. And this comes after a judge ordered Combs' arraignment for 2 additional charges of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. Combs is now facing a total of 5 federal charges. His trial is scheduled for early May.
We now know some of the questions defense attorneys want to ask potential jurors in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. In a letter filed yesterday, Combs' attorney asked the judge to allow questions about sex, drugs, violence, including their own views on multiple sexual partners. Combs has pleaded not guilty to claims he committed sex trafficking and abuse for more than 2 decades.
They must be selected. What the defense wants is people who are able to change their opinions. And you don't just ask somebody that because everybody says yes and half of them are lying. What you do is you say to them, is there ever anything in your life where you really believed something and somebody convinced you to change your mind? Tell me what it is. That's how you find the right juror.
Madam Foreperson, will you stand, please? And will you read the verdict?
Diddy has always maintained his innocence. Until his actual trial, this mock jury is set to deliver their verdict.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Sean Diddy Combs.
I saw that they're saying that the jury is going to be sequestered for when they receive their jury questionnaires and they go through and strike people out. So when they're sequestered, they all live in a house together?
They can put them in a hotel, they can pay for it so nobody can get to them, so they're not at home, because one of the big things we don't want is we don't want undue influence to a juror. We don't want people contacting a juror. We don't want Diddy's team. We don't want the prosecutor. We don't want anybody running into them at the grocery store, at the 7-Eleven, and be like, so what do you think about Diddy?
CNN jurors on Thursday were expected to hear from a witness who claimed he was allegedly in possession of videos that contain footage of celebs being potentially victimized by the Bad Boy Records founder. The witness, who reportedly hasn't filed any suits against Combs and is not claiming to be a victim of him, says he has information and evidence about sexual abuse and other misconduct by Combs, some of which allegedly involve celebrities. But according to the witness's attorney, Ariel Mitchell, who also represented 2 of Combs' accusers in their lawsuit against the mogul, she said her client was subpoenaed. According to another report, the witness told TMZ he was initially contacted by federal agents with the Department of Homeland Security. And he's previously done interviews claiming he's seen salacious videos of Diddy.
The defense maintains that the Eyes John tapes merely capture private moments between consenting adults, a stance that has garnered little support from critics, who argue that the footage exposes a much darker side to Diddy's lifestyle. The strategy behind the jury questionnaire has sparked debate among legal experts. Some view it as a clever tactic to prepare jurors for the shocking evidence, while others see it as a deliberate attempt to influence public opinion before all the facts are revealed.
Defense wanted copies of these videos handed over to them, not just the ability to view them at like the prosecution's office. They wanted copies of these videos for themselves. And I've talked to lawyers about this before. There's a big advantage to having the electronic video, the electronic evidence yourself, right? You don't have to always go over to the other office. You can view the materials on your own. It's a way to better prepare for your defense. And Sean Combs' lawyers argue that under the federal rules of criminal procedure, if the defendant asks for it, the government has to give a defendant the opportunity to inspect and to copy electronic data that is in the government's possession. And that data, that evidence, has to be material to preparing their defense.
That's interesting to me. Are they going to try and put forth a case that, you know, a black man, a successful black man in the business is being unfairly targeted because of identity?
That's exactly what the defense lawyer representing Diddy.
A day being interviewed by both sides. So does this mean Diddy can get a fair trial?
Almost everybody has an opinion about this case.
Serious charges, don't get me straight. And by the way, the sex trafficking charge that he faces with respect to one victim, the only way that he can fight that is saying, and we don't know who this victim one is, we can take a guess who this is. You basically say, there was no fraud, force, coercion. This was not commercial sex act. She was my girlfriend. Of course, I took her on trips. Doesn't mean I was paying her to do anything. I wasn't promising anything of value. They have to be very, very specific. The thing for prosecutors is, this is a story they can tell. And this is the beginning of it. We don't know a lot of the other people that are cooperating. I imagine they're going to have a lot more. And if they tell that story to the jury, that's why R. Kelly got convicted. Now, it was with respect to minors, but he was convicted of racketeering charges, too.
They're going to send out these questionnaires that both sides and the judge can look at together. The defense would send what they want as potential questions, and the judge will say a lot, I'm not asking that, I'm not asking that, I'm not putting that on a questionnaire. The prosecution will send questions, I'm not asking that, I'm not asking that, I'm not asking that, because you can't ask in the questionnaire, do you think Diddy did it? Because that goes to the penultimate, eliminate, I'd say about 150. So now you have about 450 people. Then there is going to be things that are called peremptory challenges that we have talked about before, that either side, they get a certain number of challenges that they said, I don't want that guy. Why? Because he's got a Kanye West shirt on. I don't want that guy because he's got a funny hat. As long as it's a race-neutral reason, the defense or the prosecution can eliminate.
The controversy surrounding Diddy extends beyond his legal troubles, with a growing conspiracy gaining traction online that links him to the death of pop star Aaron Carter. Following Carter's shocking death in 2022, a tweet seen by millions suggested that Carter was close to Y, revealing explosive details about the dark underworld of Diddy's notorious parties. While authorities concluded that Carter's death was accidental, caused by drowning and drug-related factors, many online investigators have continued to push the narrative, refusing to let the mystery fade.
Developing news tonight in Lancaster, where pop star Aaron Carter has died at the age of 34.
Yeah, the troubled performer grew up in the limelight, but he was in and out of rehab several times in his short life. Chris Wolf is live for us in Lancaster. He's got more on this. Chris?
Yeah, Rick, MB, the street is now cleared. People have been moving in and out of that home behind me all day. And tonight we heard from some of those closest to Aaron Carter, and they all say the same thing. They all share stories of a very kind, loving, caring, humble, yet troubled young man. It's the tragic death of a young performer, and now family, friends, and fans around the world are suffering the loss.
Carter's mother, Jane Schneck, posted the photos to her personal Facebook page on Wednesday, writing, quote, still trying to get a real tub of his Lancaster, California home. According to posts by his mother, quote, the coroner wrote it off as an accidental drug overdose. They never investigated it as a possible crime scene because of his addiction past. One of the photos shows the bathtub where Carter was found filled with green water. Another shows what appears to be feces smeared across the bathroom floor. A towel and some clothing items can also be seen on the floor in the photos. In one social media post, Carter's mother writes, quote, why are the towels perfectly placed? In others, she alleges Carter received multiple death threats.
Hear about things like staging of crime scenes. I think that this has been mentioned a couple of times. Staging cuts both ways. You know, are you attempting to demonstrate something to prove your point, or are you photographing something that's just there, where you can actually, that's demonstrative of the reality? Has anything been adjusted? That's one of the reasons, you know, to her point specifically, that you do want to try to keep control over a crime scene. And that way you never lose context of it. So there's too much murkiness here, I think, relative to the photos that she has allowed to be displayed and what the police are.
Twitter, and I see people saying, you look like you have AIDS, you should go die. I don't understand how I dedicated 22 years of my life to my fans, and now they turn on me.
Do you regret ever getting involved in...
I didn't have a choice. It got bad when I was about 15 years old, because when I did MTV Cribs, the day that I had to go show off that house, my mom and my dad told me, we're getting a divorce, but you still have to go do this. I had to go show off.
Rumors have
my whole life
circulated that
Aaron
Aaron Carter possessed secret tapes which could have exposed a hidden network of abuse and exploitation, one that has remained out of the public eye for years. While no concrete evidence has linked Diddy to Carter's death, the speculation continues to intensify, with online communities in overdrive. Social media is flooded with questions like, was Carter silenced to protect a legacy of darkness? And could those tapes change everything we know about Diddy? These questions are fueling a growing fire of suspicion, adding to the already immense pressure on a man who was once idolized, but now finds himself desperately trying to regain control of a narrative that's quickly slipping away.
With his amazing rise to success, Aaron would be thrust into the entertainment industry and would be mingling with the most VIP elite of our society. And this is when, at the age of 9, he starts to mingle with people like Diddy. By the age of 15, Aaron had released 4 studio albums, all of which were gold, platinum performing records. On his second album, he had actually signed to a new record label. Overlap there would definitely place Aaron Carter, who was the most massive child superstar on the planet, definitely in the same circles as people like Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love Combs. And Sean Combs is one of the most notorious and influential people in the music industry. So to think that they didn't mingle in the same circles would be foolish. There's a bunch of videos that have recently resurfaced because of all these speculations and allegations about Diddy possibly being involved with Aaron Carter's passing. And one of the craziest, most damning pieces of evidence, in my opinion, is the fact that Aaron released this TikTok video literally 2 days prior to him disappearing and being gone.
Silence breaker for my brother, who is a rapist, and now they're after my life. My whole family is after my life, and they're setting me up. And Sony Records owes me $3.5 million, and they don't Sony Records for $10 million. They owe me money, and they're trying to get me off. And I'm begging you and I'm pleading you, help me raise $100,000 as soon as I can so I can move to an undisclosed location where I am safe. My realtor won't sell my house. They're all involved in this, and they're trying to keep me there. They had cops come and check for a rope in my garage saying I wanted to hang myself. So please trust what I'm saying.
Car in the driveway, far away from his body where he was found. And he was going to take a bath too. If I'm going to take a bath, I always bring my phone in there because I'm probably watching videos or listening to music or something. Just very strange that a guy who always had his phone on him did not have his phone on him or even near him when he passed. Now, Aaron was not examined by the same medical examiner, Ed Winter, that all the other celebrities were. Ed actually passed away like somebody in that area, or if Diddy has any sort of hold on the medical examiner's office or the police of LA County, then it's very likely that that reach did not just extend to one person. It is likely over the entire department, the entire system that they have in place out there. The speculation all over the internet has people wondering what is going on. And this Diddy rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper, darker, wilder, crazier, and just more savage each and every day. Now, the passings of Brittany Murphy, Kim Porter, Aaron Carter, and the random coma hospitalization that Jamie Foxx experienced are all now being reinvestigated because all of these people had very close ties to Diddy or Sony Records. And there seems to now be reason to think that Diddy was out to silence anybody who was looking to expose him. And the evidence is starting to get